All right, my friends, there has been a new ransomware cyber attack that's been spreading worldwide that started earlier today. According to reports, it began in Ukraine. This thing is dubbed GoldenEye, and I'll link you up to a few reports in the description box below on this thing here. But folks, we need to keep our eye on stuff like this because this is one of the ways they can bring the global system down and implement their new global system, which will eventually, come to fruition, as we see in the Bible prophecies there in Daniel and Revelation, talking about the beast system, the beast power that has power over every nation, kindred, and tongue for 42 months or 3.5 years. And you read about the mark of this beast system, the mark of the beast, if you will, and how basically this system will control world economies at that time. And so everything we're seeing is a prelude to what's to come. And certainly something, a threat of this nature on a higher level would be, something that could just cripple countries and bring them to their knees. And so, without further ado, let's look at this thing. And again, folks, this is just one of the many forms of warfare being fought here in these end times. You've got cyber warfare, you've got chemical warfare, biological warfare, the actual physical warfare being carried out, information warfare, economic warfare with sanctions, trade embargoes, and things of that nature. I mean, this is, as I always say in these reports, just more signs of the times. And so, as you see here, it started in Ukraine. It was deemed a powerful cyber attack that started there and has since spread across the world, hitting banks, government IT systems, and energy firms. And in Ukraine specifically, they're saying that this was the worst cyber attack in its entire history. And so, I mean, it's being widely reported. Like I said, I'll link you up with a bunch of articles below. But it goes on to talk about how British advertising group WPP said its computer networks in several locations had been targeted. The UK's National Cybersecurity Centre is investigating how many more UK firms have been hit and is trying to get an understanding of what they're calling a fast-moving situation. And companies in 6 other countries were also hit, and that number is growing as I'm seeing reports come across the wire here. And so 6 other countries were also hit. That's after Ukraine declared it had been struck by the biggest cyber attack in its history, as we've seen. Chernobyl's radiation monitoring systems were among the most serious digital networks affected. And, I mean, that's some serious stuff there, folks. When you think about that as a precursor, what if that happened on the nuclear facilities in a country? I mean, we pray to God that that doesn't happen, because that could be something catastrophic. And so goes on to mention here that the country's interior ministry said the hack was a modified version of the previous WannaCry virus, if you remember that, a type of ransomware that actually crippled the NHS computer systems there back in May in the UK and caused havoc, shutting down hospitals and everything, right? We remember seeing that. And it goes on to mention Kostin Ryu, head of the global research at Kaspersky Lab, the world's biggest cybersecurity analyst firm, identified the virus as PeterWrap, or PETRWRAP, and I'll show you another report that's calling it GoldenEye. So again, like the others, it seems to have a couple different names that it's under, but nonetheless, it's the same type of virus. And the crypto blocker actually demands, again, as we have seen previously, $300 in Bitcoin to let users access their data, and does not name the encrypting program, which makes finding a solution difficult, as it says here in the report. And Ukraine's Security Council secretary said an hour after the news broke, and I quote, "It is possible to talk of Russian fingerprints. So, of course, you know, it seems like all of these, anything to do with cyber attacks, they're always immediately going to point the finger at Russia and in many instances North Korea as well. Of course, we've seen China, but it's always being pointed at some of these other nations that they're already, you know, at a very low point of deteriorated relations with. And again, that's all more signs of the times, folks. But Ukraine's, Ukraine Security Council Secretary, she also went on to mention that so far companies in the following countries have been affected. And again, this is grown, but they said the UK, the United States, Ukraine and Russia were two of the hardest hit, apparently. Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands. Goes on to mention here, Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Pavlo Rosenko posted a picture of his computer screen, which warned it was experiencing errors. And news of the cyber attack emerged when the country's government IT network was crippled by an unknown virus. And the hack then spread, attacking several Ukrainian banks, its state energy distributor, postal service, and the largest telephone firm as well, according to the report here. And the Kiev airport was also hit. And Russian oil giant Rosneft and steel manufacturer Evraz followed, reporting they were affected by the virus as well. And the disruptions follow a spate of hacking attempts on Ukrainian state websites from late 2016, and repeated attacks on the country's power grid that prompted security officials to call for improved cyber defenses, obviously. And so here's another report here from Reuters talking about this same cyber attack that has gone global and that apparently, as you see here, exploits known code flaws. And they've dubbed it GoldenEye, as I previously alluded to. And goes on to say, a major global cyber attack dubbed GoldenEye or Petya on Tuesday disrupted computers at Russia's biggest oil company, Ukrainian banks, and multinational firms with a virus similar to the ransomware virus that last month infected more than 300,000 computers, if you remember that. And the attack underscores growing concerns that businesses have failed to secure their networks from increasingly aggressive hackers who have shown they are capable of shutting down critical infrastructure and crippling corporate and government networks. The ransomware virus crippled computers running Microsoft Corp's MSFT.O Windows. So they're running Microsoft Windows, and they did this by encrypting hard drives and overwriting files. They demanded $300 in Bitcoin payments to restore the access, as was done previously. And it included a code known as, and I've referenced this in previous reports on the previous attacks, Eternal Blue, which cybersecurity experts widely believe was stolen from the U.S. National Security Agency. Or was it stolen? Or was it leaked out purposely? I mean, who knows? But it goes on to mention, and was also used in last month's ransomware attack named WannaCry. Some 2,000 attacks apparently were observed as of midday in New York earlier this afternoon, according to Kaspersky Lab reports. And Russia and Ukraine were the most affected, as I previously mentioned, with other victims spread across countries including Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, and the United States, according to reports from the security software maker. And the U.S. Department of Homeland Security came out and said that they were monitoring the attacks and coordinating with other countries on the matter. And several private security experts have come out and stated that they believe shadow brokers is tied to the Russian government, of course. They're always going to point the finger at Russia. And that the North Korean government was behind WannaCry. And again, so it's always Russia, North Korea, and sometimes they mix in an accusation on China, as we've seen previously. But in regards to Russia and North Korea, they mentioned that both countries' governments have denied the charges that they that they are in fact involved in any hacking. However, folks, it's more signs of the times. It's crippling major networks. It's called Petya. I think there was a misspelling of it in that previous article I read, and I called it Peter Rap, or whatever I called it. But it wouldn't be the first time I've butchered the pronunciation of something. Probably won't be the last either. However, folks, more signs of the times here. Wanted to link you guys up with a couple of reports on this, and take the steps to protect your machines in the midst of this. So, till next time, folks, this is Brother Joey signing off. Much love, and God bless you guys. All right, my friends, there has been a new ransomware cyber attack that's been spreading worldwide that started earlier today. And according to reports, it began in Ukraine. This thing is dubbed GoldenEye, and I'll link you up to a few reports in the description box below on this thing. And certainly something, a threat of this nature on a higher level would be, something that could just cripple countries and bring them to their knees. And so, without further ado, let's look at this thing. And again, folks, this is just one of the many forms of warfare being fought here in these end times. You've got cyber warfare, you've got chemical warfare, biological warfare, the actual physical warfare being carried out, information warfare, economic warfare with sanctions, trade embargoes, and things of that nature. I mean, this is that has power over every nation, kindred, and tongue for 42 months or 3.5 years. And, you read about the mark of the beast system, the mark of the beast, if you will, and, how basically this system will control world economies at that time. And so everything we're seeing is a prelude to what's in here. But folks, we need to keep our eye on stuff like this, because this is one of the ways they can bring the global system down and implement their new global system, which will eventually, come to fruition, as we see in the Bible prophecies there in Daniel and Revelation, talking about the beast system, the beast power.